Welcome back to the channel. My name is Chris Abraham. This is the first time I'm doing this, introducing myself, but I guess it's for the good of the channel and also so that you know who is interviewing or who is the host in the podcast here. I'm going to be talking to Martin Tumwine, who is a software engineer and a dad. So there's a lot to uncover between his life being a dad and working as a software engineer, because working as a software engineer, you tend to be very, very occupied. And I don't know how he balances that out, but let me allow him introduce himself. Welcome, Martin.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me on this podcast. Martin Tumwine is my name.
Yeah.
For those of you that do not know. And right now, who am I? I'm a dad. I'm also a husband as well, and an entrepreneur. Okay, a son, a brother in that regard. So yeah, that is me basically.
Yeah, a family man.
Yes, family man. Yes.
Family man, nice. So, what can you tell us about your work? Yeah.
My work. So basically, I run a tech company called Zanti Technologies. And Zanti Technology is basically a consultancy company. So we're doing software consultation for organizations. And right now we are particularly doing something called CTO as a service. Not very many people might understand that. In full, it's Chief Technology Officer as a service. So think about organizations that have digital products out there, right? Probably mobile applications or any kind of software that's out there. You could be using it internally, or other people could be using it from outside of your organization. So the idea here is that a CTO is what we call a technology leader. The idea is to come in and lead the technology team in terms of making sure that the product or the software that you are creating is, first of all, it's very good in terms of user experience. You're also looking at security precautions also being taken so that you ensure that you limit the vulnerabilities in the software, looking at guiding the software team and helping them create really, really good quality software.
Let's slow down here a bit. I feel like we're moving way too fast. So how did you come to this stage of opening up Zantu, and also maybe just a bit of your working as a software engineer? Let's just go from there, because
So working as a software engineer and how I came to come up with Zantu. So when I was a kid, I always wanted to do something different in the world. And I remember I was particularly interested. I have two big brothers. They used to bring video games at home. So back in the early 2000s, 1990, 1998, I was born in 94.
Yeah.
And they would bring a Sega Mega Drive and games like Nintendo. So I'd always play with them. And I remember they had cartridges. And I always wondered how the cartridges worked and how things worked and also how televisions worked. So I always grew up with that curiosity, trying to find out how does everything technology work. So in my senior 5 is when I finally met a mentor, my first mentor, who actually helped me to understand electronic design. So help me understand electronics design. And I started learning how to create electronic circuits. For those of you who are into electronics, you might understand this. So playing with LEDs, capacitors, resistors, coming up with different kinds of circuits.
It seems like you are on a journey to become something in line with electricity or something, or technical stuff.
Yes, technical stuff. But I was mainly interested in digital electronics, like microchips and things like that, because there's also the electricity bit where you're working with AC and DC, but this is more particular for micro devices. So I had a particular interest in that. So I remember I wanted to be a doctor. And in my senior 5, I read a newspaper article. And the saying was about, I think 80%, I think it was a Daily Mail article, 80% of graduates couldn't find jobs. And it led me thinking, and I was like, is this really the path that I want to take? Because at the end of the day, I'm going to study for probably 10 years trying to be a doctor. And
Doctor or electrician?
doctor. But I had interest in electronic design and also a bit of software as well. I remember for the software bit in my senior 4 vacation, my mom gave me a laptop and I was trying to experiment with like hacking and things like that. So when I read this newspaper article, I decide that I'm going to start working on my skill sets. I was performing pretty poorly. My senior 5 and senior 6, I was at Intare. And then after reading that article, I decided I'm going to gain skill sets. They're actually going to help me in the future. And what I did was, so Intare had a library where there were like magazines, like Scientific American, The Economist. And I loved reading such books because I was so curious about the world, about space, about technology, about so many things, even research as well. I was so curious about all those things. So I would go to the library, I would read a little bit of biology, chemistry, then I'd just jump straight into those magazines. And as I continued on my journey of electronic design, then I came to university. At university is now where I now started learning software development. I started teaching myself software development.
How did that interest come up?
It started earlier on. Like I said, in my senior 4 vacation, I had a friend of mine called Daniel, and Daniel was sort of like a computer whiz. He was experimenting with some sort of programming language. I didn't know what it was at the time. And he was saying that he's creating like an operating system. And I'm like, oh, how do you do that? And I still had that interest. Just that I didn't really have anyone teach me that. Yeah. So in my senior 5, I started learning electronic design. Then university is now when I had a cousin of mine gave me a computer. And then at Chambogo, they had internet. So I'd always access the internet and then go to YouTube and just learn about programming.
So you weren't doing software engineering at university at Chambogo?
No.
It was something you taught yourself?
Yes.
Wow.
I can't say I taught myself because I learned from others.
When you're trying to teach yourself things on YouTube, that's usually the case.
Yes.
They take you as self-taught because you take the endeavor to watch through so many videos and just try to pick up different ideas from many people. Yeah.
Exactly. So I watched YouTube videos. I downloaded books. I read books on that and I practiced a lot.
On software engineering?
Yeah, software engineering.
You were dedicated.
I was very dedicated.
Very, very dedicated.
I really loved it. I had a passion for it. And from a young age, I had this idea that I wanted to do something different.
And how are you balancing your passion with your time at university? Because obviously you're doing something different. What are you doing at university?
It was easy. I was doing biomedical engineering. That's what I was studying. It was a diploma. And it was a 2-year diploma. So what I would do was...
engineering.
Yeah, biomedical engineering, yes.
And then you add on top software engineering.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. I think those were one of the best years of my life. I think I had the ability to, going on a path and just enjoying it, relishing all of that, I enjoyed that. So I would wake up at 5 a.m., code, prepare by 7 a.m., go to campus. I used to walk to campus. Yeah. And then go for lectures. And then in between the lectures, I would code. And then I would go to the library, then I would read.
While others were busy chasing girls, you were coding in between lectures.
Yes, I was coding in between lectures.
Wow.
Yeah. So I actually managed because the interesting thing is that I read throughout my whole semesters. All my semesters, I was just reading throughout. So when it came to like exam period or test period, I was just chilling. I was just coding because I was immediately after the lecture, I would just go do research on the topic. And I really loved what I was doing because with biomedical engineering, there was also electronics. So I really loved electronics. So I'd just go to the library, read books on electronics, understand how transistors work, make the calculations. I really loved it so much. Then
I think one key thing the viewers can pick out from your story thus far is just how dedicated you are to just learn. Like you had so much interest, fire burning within you.
Yes.
And then you just picked up on this. Like you picked up on it was so easy for you to do biomedical and also software engineering at the same time. Some people say, man, how are you even able to do just biomedical engineering? but somehow you're able to balance both of them. Interesting. Yeah.
And that's how I got by. I would code in between,
Yeah.
spaces,
So
and
let's-
then I would code at night as well
At night as well.
until like 2 a.m.
Wow. So let's fast forward. You're done with university and now it's time to find a job. What made you err towards the side of software engineering as opposed to biomedical engineering?
So I remember I did internship at Mengo Hospital, and my internship, it was pretty good. I learned a lot as a biomedical engineer there, learning the ins and outs about the different equipment that they had, repairing equipment. But I realized that it became boring. It wasn't as exciting as I thought it would be. What I really, really, really want to actually do is get into manufacturing. That's my particular interest. With the work that I was doing at that time, doing my internship, I was just mainly doing repair. It was good. I learned a lot, but
it was boring.
It was boring. It got
You're not
too
inventing
monotonous.
anything new.
Yeah, I wasn't learning anything new. I mean, it has a cap. So you reach the cap and you're like, what next? It wasn't as exciting. So I decide that, you know what? That's not the path I want to take. I want to be a software engineer. Because it was exciting, because you always learn. Even right now, I'm still
Were
learning.
you earning anything while working intern?
No, I wasn't.
But was there a prospect, like, if after your internship, what were you going to be making?
For me particularly, I didn't have any prospects in that field.
In that field?
No, I didn't.
Nothing. But
I
do you
tried
think
applying
the
some
pay would
jobs.
be nice? Do you think the pay would be sustainable?
It would be okay. But I think as a software engineer, you have the ability to even earn more. I would recommend that you'd actually earn more in that field if you went and did a bit of manufacturing, or if you went the entrepreneurship route. You would actually earn a bit more in that regard.
In
biomedical engineering.
Yeah. So software engineering, it seems like someone was whispering in your ears, telling you that, man, this is the path. This is where the money is. Who was that, or what was that?
At the time, I really wasn't doing it for the money. I was doing it for the passion.
It was just the passion.
It was just the passion.
So you were just moving like a blind person, telling yourself, like, this is the path, this is where I'm going.
Yes, because I saw the opportunities as well. I saw what Apple had done. At the time, I was really reading a lot of books.
Yeah.
I read about Nikola Tesla. I loved reading about the scientists of old,
I think when you speak of Nikola Tesla, this is a person who didn't really care about money, and he was just all in on science.
Yes.
So you saw yourself in him?
Kind of. I really admired his talent and his ability to think. I also admired Albert Einstein and all those great thinkers of old. And it really motivated me to. And when I also started looking at tech companies like Bill Gates, I started looking at Steve Jobs, I started looking at all these guys, and I was like, I think I want to take this path. I started now imagining building something big that would actually have an impact in the world. Yeah.
So software engineering was what was going to get you there?
Yeah, because it has very many opportunities. The world is right now that we live in is very digital. And because I wanted to also get into manufacturing in biomedical equipment, it's a much harder path, I would say. If I am looking at the market in Africa, strategically looking at the market, first of all, manufacturing medical equipment is very expensive, especially when you're coming from the side of R&D, which is research and development, and then getting into that space where you're now trying to now market your product. You'll spend a lot of money, millions of dollars. And on top of that, another cap I realized was, because I used to go for hackathons, another cap I realized was that at the end of the day, you will manufacture this thing, and then you still have, there's still a ceiling. And I realized that your device has to be approved, and it's approved by, let's say, I don't really want to be like, how do I say it? I don't want to be I don't say that we are limited, but the approvals, who approves these devices it's not an African organization, I would say. And so I looked at all those hurdles, and I saw the hurdles that the people I knew who are Africans developing products like that, I saw that they're actually going to eventually reach there and have a huge problem. Because you will manufacture and probably, deploy in Africa, but how do you deploy for the world? When there's a ceiling on top of that, because it will take you probably 5 years, 10 years, or plus in a sense. Because I've seen the people who are there right now, it's taken them years, and still
they haven't gotten there yet.
They haven't gotten to a point where there's profit. They've spent a lot. So I thought that going through the software engineering path was going to eventually help me generate the income that I needed to get into manufacturing.
Oh,
yeah.
It was going to, you were using the software engineering as kind of leverage to get into.
Yes.
All right. So how did you land your first gig, your first job?
My first
gig. Because now you're doing this as passion, and then you somehow you started making money in this field. How did that happen?
I used to go to innovation hubs. At the time, I went a lot to Outbox, and I started going to all these other spaces. And I met a lady called Justine, and she's the one who actually gave me my first gig, I would say. It was to create a school sort of finder system and like an Android application. Yeah. So at the time, I had a really weak computer. It was so slow.
It was burning,
It was so slow. It was broken.
You often get heated up a lot.
Yeah, it would. To actually set up the PC would take like 10 minutes just to set up the PC.
Hey.
so you had to plan in advance. And I look at some of the people these days, the software engineers these days, and say, my PC is weak and stuff. When I look at the power on their PC, I'm like, but your PC can actually do something, And then
what you had was way worse.
What they had was way worse, and I'm like, the excuses these days people have, I want a Mac, and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, start with what you have.
Yeah. So you pulled off the gig.
I didn't finish the gig. I would say I don't think I was paid at the time. No, I wasn't paid.
Yeah.
But I wasn't able to finish the gig because I think it was really becoming difficult for me to continue going there each and every other day. And I eventually just said, what?
Without any income.
Yeah, let me just pull out a bit. So I then said, just go to Chambo each and every other single day to just access the internet and just continue learning code.
You're just teaching yourself.
Yeah, I just continued learning.
Unsure of where money was going to come from.
Yeah.
Just like, let me just do this.
Get into this. And I remember at the time I had passion also for entrepreneurship. So I used to read a lot of entrepreneurship books. And we had started a program called African Body Innovation Hub. So my wife right now, when I met her then in 2016, she actually had the name African Body. So I just said, hey, African Body Innovation Hub. And we studied it at Chambogo University. And I remember I became actually an assistant lecturer at the time. And it gave me access to the students. So that's how I was actually earning money at the time. And then from time to time, I would get like some software engineering gigs, and I would just get, some money here and there.
Nice.
Yes.
From the students or from outside?
From outside. And then with students, I would just, for those who were interested, I would just train them. And then I would also, get paid in that regard. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, me, I know this, but the viewers don't know this. How did you land the outstanding gigs? The outstanding gigs, and also lead us towards opening Zantu.
So I registered Zantu in 2018. And at the time still I was working as an assistant lecturer at Chambogo. I was mainly teaching the students software engineering or software programming and electronic design. That was what I was really good at the time. So landing the better paying gigs at the time, I remember I had a mentor in 2020 during COVID.
Yeah.
And he helped me he helped me quite a lot to get up to speed, especially with my software engineering ability.
Yeah.
So he employed me. I worked with him for a year. And then in that year, I learned so much. I learned the value of also having mentors in a specific field that you're actually interested in.
Nice.
I think it's the value that you gain. It's us so much, because at the end of the day, you're working with someone who has 10 years of experience, and they're just passing it down to you rather than you starting. So, because now me, I just started from scratch.
Yeah. And you were doing your own research.
I was doing my own research,
work.
doing my own things. But this is someone who was seasoned and had also worked in the industry. He had worked at Andela before and other spaces. So he gave me the opportunity. I worked with him. At the time, I'd also gotten married as well.
Nice.
To my wife. And I worked with him for a year. And then I got an opportunity to work with some foreign clients. So that is from Germany. Yeah. So that's when the better paying gigs now started coming in at the time. Yeah.
That's where the whole idea, because usually when you're in university, they'll usually tell you that when you take a path in direction of computer, you're aiming for the future. So when you took the path of software engineering, you didn't know exactly where the big paying gigs were going to come, but getting the clients from outside actually made that possibility, that thought come to reality.
Yes.
So from there, you said you already started Zantu.
Yeah, I already started Zantu at the time.
But what was your aim starting Zantu? What were you looking
Basically, software engineering. To just create software and just push it out. At the time, since I was doing biomedical engineering, I had particular interest in creating medical software. So at the time, we created an inventory management system for hospitals. I noticed that most hospitals, when I was working at Mengo Hospital, I learned that most hospitals don't have software to help them maintain their medical equipment. So it always breaking down. And because you don't have past records, it becomes difficult to track and see probably what are the issues, what are the problems, what was used. So we created that software at the time. I tried marketing it at the time, but I don't think we were able to gain product market fit. But I never also give it a lot of attention, especially during COVID period. Everything just shut down. And that's now when I had to start working with this mentor of mine. So I didn't really push it so much. Yeah. So that's what happened with Zantu. So Zantu was sort of like, I would say, not doing much at the time. And also one thing I think the viewers also can learn from this is I also started Zantu also with some other partners, but I would recommend that you get into business with people who are actually going to be in it for the passion of it, and also because they also love it. So because also I had partners also had other things that they were doing, it became difficult to make decisions and move forward on certain things. So that really also sort of stifled Zantu's growth at that time. Yes.
So these were like people who are around. They were just keeping around in case it blows up. They're around, yeah.
Yeah, I would say the time. I would say, yeah, but they also love the vision. They love the vision, but sometimes life just gets to you.
Yeah.
And they had to get jobs.
Zantu wasn't making anything.
Yeah, we were not making anything at that time. We were just building software from scratch and trying to.
So the initial goal for Zantu in the first place was to make software that you could sell to people. Is it?
Yeah, and probably have subscriptions for it.
Yeah, and then now the goal for Zantu is to provide consultancy.
Yeah, consultancy services, yes.
How is that going for you now?
It's a bit better. It's a bit better. For this context, it's making me think a bit larger than just the market. Even then, I was still thinking of building something that the whole world can use.
Yeah.
Yes. So, but here it's a totally different playing game. I'm learning so much, especially about big enterprises and how they operate and how to automate certain processes for them, So I think going this route is actually much better. And also on top of that, I think this is just my advice to software engineers. Like I would really recommend that, because now we live in the age of AI, certain things are being automated. So I would recommend that you really get good at a particular thing and just really be good at it. For example, if you're looking at cybersecurity, be the best in that field, but also market yourself. Because now going into consultancy taught me how to market myself better and how to get into a specific niche. For example, doing CTO as a service right now. On top of that, we also train software engineers. We mentor them, actually. So we have a mentorship program. And we're also forming partnerships around. We also started our own YouTube channel. Where we'll also be talking about business. Now, because I've always had the passion for business as well, I had to now connect the software engineering bit with the business bit. Yes. Yeah. So that's how the CTO as a service bit came. So right now, I think it's not that I think, it's actually doing slightly better than before, yes.
Than before, with the vision of creating software.
Yeah, and because the market is crowded. There are too many people creating software. And now that I'm a dad, it's hard for me to keep up. So you have to hire a team and put them in a position where they can also create, and teach them and mentor them. But the market is crowded. There are too many software engineers. So what differentiates you from the rest? So we had to say, you know what?
Not too many people are doing consultancy. Let's do that. Let's err towards
especially leadership. Leadership especially. So because consultancy is also slightly different. Your job as a consultant could just be, I'm coming on to just create this software for this organization, and that is it. Okay. But with what we are doing, which is CTO as a service, we come in and then be the technology leader in that organization. So it's not
create the vision.
Yeah. So we help them. So if they probably already have a vision as an organization, they already have a vision. But what we do is that we come in and then we are sort of like leaders in that position. And we guide the software engineering team to create better software. But on top of that, if they have an IT team or any other team as well, we also lead in that direction. So you're sort of like a manager in a sense, but you're trying to align the technology goals with the company vision, which is something that I've seen a lot of organizations are actually missing right now.
Nice. Nice. It seems like you've done a lot of your research in the field and seen a path that can really benefit the company, isn't it? So how can you talk to us about your life as a dad alongside your work? How are you merging the two?
I used to think that there was something called work-life balance, but it doesn't exist. You cannot say that you're going to set up a company or probably even work and then say, I'll stop work at 5 p.m. and then I'll be with my family for the rest of the evening. It doesn't exist. I believe there's something called work-life integration. So you work as you're with your family. Sounds confusing.
It sounds very confusing. Just enlighten us more on that.
Yeah.
It seems like something that you would see people who are freelancing or people who don't commit to office do. So, you explain. I think I've seen it. I can see what you're talking about, but maybe the viewers haven't yet.
Yeah. So, for example, I have meetings at home. I work remotely. So you find that I'm in a meeting, but my kids are around. And I'm not telling you, okay, keep quiet, or probably I'm coding or I'm writing up a document and then they're studying. So I'm just there with them and like, okay, do this, do that, Yeah, like then in the evening, you should be spending time with your wife, but then at the same time, you probably in the same room together and you say, okay, let me just send this and then we can spend some time as well. Now, because me and my wife are both entrepreneurs now, you find that work ends really late for us and it's now just me and her. So we've had to implement this system where every Thursday evening is date night.
Thursday evening.
No work, just for the two of us, in a sense. So you have to be very deliberate. And then also something else, you find that probably you're working, but then you're probably eating food. And then the kids also just there as well. Yeah. So that's work-life integration. You're probably working as the kids are around and playing with you. So that way you're present.
That way you're present.
You're present
Yeah.
for them. And then probably, since my wife also works at home,
But isn't your
we're probably
attention-
both in the same room as well. And maybe she'll talk about something and they'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, you know. And then we'll talk about something and we'll get back to work.
Don't you say, like, you have like that undivided attention, like there's that divided attention. Yeah, divided attention.
Yeah. There's...
You're not fully available.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, how are you going to do it if there's no divided attention? It's just about striking the balance. At the end of the day, as a parent and as an entrepreneur, it's not easy. Those two things are not easy to do. So that's why very few people are actually able to manage that sort of life.
Do you think there would be like a scenario where your kid is asking you something and then you're like, yeah, just do that. Yeah.
It happens a lot.
So like you're half talking to them, you're not fully there.
It happens a lot. But it's not just about being deliberate and say, okay, probably you tell them something like, I'm going to come and look at it. Just give me some.
But you follow through.
Yeah, sometimes I do. Sometimes I forget and I just get lost in the rabbit hole. But at least you try. And probably if they come, you look at what they're doing and you're like, oh, that's a good job. You be honest about it. Then also maybe give them a hug. And like, okay, Joshua, I'm still trying to finish something here. I'll come. And then in the evening or probably on the weekend, you make sure that you actually make up that time. Yeah, That's work-life integration. It's not easy.
In the evening and on the weekend.
Sometimes even during the day, you're like, you know what, I'm going to take a 15-minute break, so let me just go and just be with them.
Nice.
And especially for those who work at home.
Nice. Well, do you have anything to add?
I think I would just say that it's been a beautiful journey for me. It's not been easy. It's not been perfect, but it's been a very, very beautiful journey. I see a lot of software engineers who are struggling, especially with having like 5 or 4 multiple projects that they're working on at the same time, and probably never finishing anything. I think what I would tell them right now is, you need to prioritize something. Just pick one thing and just prioritize it.
C++.
That's coding.
That's coding.
But I'm talking about projects. Like, because I would understand, you're probably not being paid well enough on a specific project. And probably there's probably going to be, someone's going to default on your payment, right? So you take on something else so you can make it through the next day.
So what you're telling them is to be flexible, not only be on one thing.
Also, what I'm telling them is, you're going to need to prioritize. You're going to need to say, you know what, I am going to let go of all these 3 and maybe focus on 2. But also at the same time, you need to also be very deliberate about it, and also work on your health, work on yourself at the time. Because I've had so many people say that I work from morning to evening, Sunday to Sunday. And I've seen it, and it actually does happen. But at the end of the day, life is short. Life is very short. Life is so short. And these other things are beautiful. I remember when I just got married, I used to work from Sunday to Sunday. As a young married man, I didn't know how to create a balance.
Yeah.
Now that I'm married, I see the importance of creating balance in your life. You can't code all the time. You can't work on your business all the time. Life is about balance. That's something that I would just say.
But you need to make the money.
You need to make the money,
and
yes.
You need to meet deadlines.
And also meet deadlines.
And coding it's an intensive field.
Very, very intense. But you prioritize. Prioritize the project that probably is going to bring in maybe something better at the end of the day. Prioritize that. And then leave room for something else. At the end of the day, you're not going to die. You're probably going to make it through. It will be difficult. It will be very difficult. I would understand. But I would also say that also reinvent yourself. Because for how long are you going to be in this bit of just coding, in this coding train for years and stuff? Reinvent yourself. Do something different on the side.
There's something you talked about one time. We were talking and then you talked about it one time about software engineering as a field here in Africa and how the pay isn't really favorable. Or here in Uganda, to be specific. Some projects can get you like 100 grand, others can get you 50K for transport. So how is that? Like,
it's difficult. That's why I'm saying reinvent yourself.
Like, where is the big money? Is it in working with big companies or is it with working with big companies? Because if you're looking for like freelancing work or working with startups, these people don't have money to just throw around.
You're most probably going to get well paid if you're working remotely with international clients. You're most likely going to get paid better
because they value this.
They value
field.
this.
Yeah.
I'll just be very specific. Places from North America and Europe.
But landing those jobs,
landing them is not easy because all around the world you're competing with,
top talent.
Yes,
top talent. True.
But that is just finite. You're going to have probably a contract for a specific number of years, and that will be it. The question is, what's the end goal? What's something else that you could do on the side?
I think you're now talking about something that I want you to talk about a little more here, which is like kind of like the negative side of software engineering, where you're given a contract, and within the contract, maybe it's for 2-3 years, and after that, your employer can easily do away with you. So there is that insecurity that after this, where am I going to turn to next?
I don't think it's just software engineering. It's every field. You can be an electrical engineer and probably have a contract, and the next thing you know, you don't have a contract.
Job.
It could be you could be a civil engineer and probably have this contract for amount of time, and then once you've done your job, you're probably left for the next 1 year not having another contract. It's not just software engineering. It's all of these different careers.
But some jobs require you recurring activity, like you're doing the same thing over and over, and so they keep you around as long as you're doing that thing, right? They keep you around. Yeah. But it feels like software engineering, it's like after you finish making our next website, let's say an e-commerce website or something, maybe they will call you in as a consultant from time to time, or to come and check and give you some money. Like now you will just be working a gig, but after you finish creating that thing, it's like you're out of work.
Yeah. So in the meantime, you have to plan. You have to plan outside of software engineering. And it's also the same. This also applies to all other jobs. You need to plan outside of that sort of career. You need to just plan. You need to look at the market that you're in, understand it. There's so many different markets in the world. If you're in another country, fine, be in that country, but understand how the game is played. And that's why it's easier for you to actually it will be easier. A lot of people say entrepreneurship is hard, but it will be easier for you if you actually create something of value that actually solves people's problems, because then you will be able to earn a certain amount of money probably for the rest of your life, as long as you play smart and understand how the game is played. So The idea here is not to say software engineering is a bad field. It's actually a very good field.
Yeah.
It's just that maybe we are maybe limited by people's limited understanding maybe of what software engineering actually is. That's why most people might not maybe value it as much. And that's fine. That's okay. But at the end of the day, don't blame the market. Stop blaming, all these people. Just look at yourself. Look at yourself and say, I'm not going to blame anyone, but what can I do different that's going to help me get through or help me plan for the future at the end of the day? Now, it's actually become easier. Why has it become easier? I mean, we have the advent of YouTube. You can set a podcast and talk about maybe tech. There's so many other avenues that you can actually make income from. You could write a book on
Yeah, write a
technology
book.
as well. You could also go into teaching.
Weekly newsletter.
Yeah. So you need to be fluid. You can't say that I'm going to be in software engineering and this is what I love and I'll just do it. No. You have to be very, very fluid. Even software engineers in the US invest in stock and other things like that. I've met some software engineers here who, as they code, they have other businesses. He probably has a chicken business or he's doing something else on the side because probably what he's earning here is probably not enough, or because he's also planning for the future. So just plan for the future, I would say. It's easier if you're working together, actually. It's easier if you work on it together, maybe with someone who you both share the same vision. It's easier. And I just recommend just go the entrepreneurship route. Yes, we know the statistics. A lot of startups fail. We know the stats in that regard.
Yeah.
But I think
It's very real.
I think if you do it right, the payoff is much more than what. I just read a quote and the person said that live out life to the fullest. Don't fold and just think that
The worst is going to happen.
the worst is going to happen. I can't get work. I hate software engineering, but I love it at the same time because it's my passion. They say that passion gets you to a certain level, big, but it's actually hard work that pays the bills. Yep. So Zantu, we also started up our own YouTube channel where we'll be talking about business and technology. So for those of you that are interested in such topics, you could just subscribe to it. Zantu Technology is on YouTube. You could also check out our website, zantu.com. And for those of you who want to learn to be mentored or be really good software engineers, we have a mentorship program going on. Also CTOs as well. We're also creating a program this year called the CTO training program, where we'll be developing software engineers and turning them into chief technology officers or leaders in that regard. We've also partnered with Dara Japan, and with them, we actually have an HR program running where we'll be getting jobs from Japan for software engineers in Uganda. So you could also look at our website and also get in touch with us or on LinkedIn. We've also partnered with Laila Heaven, and with Laila Heaven, we actually have a business coaching mentorship program going on. And the first 10 slots are free of charge. And after that, it's $500. We'll be doing this for the next 10 weeks. So it's really going to be intense. So if you're jumping on board, just be ready for it. Thank you.
Thank you for being a part of this. I think the viewers have picked up a lot from your story. And if you have anything to ask him, do ask in the comment section.